everybody, it's Michelle and welcome to our channel. This is going to be a pretty long video. I'm going to do my full face of makeup. I haven't really worn makeup since February and it is now May 19th. A lot has happened in that period of time, so I'm just going to get into it and start talking about everything. My whole project plan is the same because, again, I have not really done makeup. Depression is real and not a good thing. So I am still using the Elemis toner. So let's get into it. At least I think it was February. It could have been March. I don't know. But I know that I owe you a second video for the wheel, and that will be next. Okay, I'm a little bass-ackwards right now. And then, of course, we're going to use the Jeffree Star Magic Star Mushroom Mist Bi-Phase Serum Mist. Of course, you've got to mix it up. As you can tell, I'm in a different area because I'm in a different home. I no longer, this is the Glow Recipe Banana Souffle. You'll probably hear the cats. They are trying to get used to the new house as well. We've been here we moved in on May 19th. So I've been here for 9 days. I don't really want to get into too much of a backstory, but those of you who know that I was living with my brother. Let me move this because let me just put it there. I was living with my brother, Cameron. Everyone called him Cam though. And things were going okay. I mean, I've always wanted to have my own place, but you know, I was there and we were helping each other. Or when I moved there, it was to help each other. His youngest daughter was moving out and he needed help with bills and stuff. So, and then I'm gonna use this eye cream. I'll have to figure out a new setup because I don't like how far away you guys are. So I'll have to figure something else out for that. I don't really have a filming area like I did at my brother's house. My son and I moved into a 2-bedroom home and his bedroom is really nice and big, but he was also in a teeny tiny space at my brother's, so I wanted him to have the bigger room because, you know, now that we have our own space. I'm in the living room right now. That's where I'm filming. I could film in my room and that might be where I film next time, but this time I just wanted to try to film and get something done and let you guys know what's been going on. So in the month of February, still using this primer. It is the Ciate London Watermelon Burst Primer. In the month of February, my depression got really bad. I ended up missing a lot of work and kind of got in trouble because I was missing so much work. You get paid time off at my job, or I get paid time off at my job. So it wasn't that I wasn't getting paid. I was still getting paid, but it was because I was calling out. So I ended up missing a lot of work and, like I said, got in trouble for that because, you know, your paid time off is supposed to be scheduled, not, you know, showing up to work and then leaving early because you can't handle it or whatever. The job that I have, I work from home for a specialty pharmacy. And so it's not that I was, you know, leaving work. I mean, obviously I work from home, so I was still at home, but I just couldn't handle being on the phones. So I ended up, this is the Laura Geller Quench and Tint, and this is in the shade Light. I guess my hair wants to come out of the towel. Okay, so I just realized that I've been talking to you guys and put on most of my makeup and wasn't even filming. That's great. So I don't have a bronzer because if you guys remember the last time I filmed, I said I was gonna switch out my bronzer. I was using the ABH cream bronzer, but the color wasn't right for me, so I was switching to a different bronzer. And the other bronzer also was more orange, so both of those ended up getting tossed. So I don't have a bronzer right now because I'm not going to go in there because my makeup and everything is in my room in my closet. So I'm not going to wear bronzer today. I do have on my blush, which is LYS in the shade Kindness. So I did put that on, and this is cream. And then I put on my highlighter from AOA Studios, which is in Twilight. I also set my face with the Laura Mercier loose powder and then went in with the Ciate London Watermelon Burst pressed setting powder. And then I was doing my brows. And this is the AOA Studios brow kit. And I mix both shades. There is no shade name. This is medium, is what this shade name is. So I just mixed both of them to make my own signature color. So I believe where I left off, like 15 minutes ago, was me telling you all my depression had gotten really bad in the month of February to where I was missing a lot of work and getting into some trouble for missing work because I would go in and then things would just either get overwhelming or I just wouldn't be able to handle it. And good Lord, my brows are awful. Wouldn't be able to handle it, so then I would end up missing work. So I was at the point to where I was close to getting a corrective action or a write-up. So I had to figure out something, figure out what I was going to do and get to a place where I would be okay to continue working. So I ended up starting therapy. Now we are going to use this is going to also be the wheel series where we are finishing up using the rest of these shades. So the last video I used all the pinks and purples. Now I'm going to use the other shades. So it'll be this brown, this color, and this color. So I used those 5 last time. So now I'm going to use those 4 and we're going to create an eye look. We're going to try really hard. So I'm going to start with double scoop, which is this one right up here. And I am going to use the mirror in here. So let me see if I can zoom you guys. I can't zoom you guys in. See if I can move you guys closer. There we go. Maybe you can see a little bit better. So I started therapy the end of March. My brother lost 2 of his best friends. The first one he lost in October or September of last year. I can't remember which month it was. I wasn't really close with that friend. His name was Ed. The friend that he lost on March 6th, he has been in my life since I was 9. So he was like another big brother to me. His name is Randy, but I always called him Eugene because he didn't like it. That was his middle name, so I always called him Eugene. And he and I were close. I mean, we weren't close like my brother Cam and I were, but we were close. I knew that if I needed something, I could call Randy and he would figure it out. I knew if I needed something, I could always call Eugene and he would come to help. Or now I'm going to go in with Hot Fudge, which is this brown color. So Eugene and I were close. So it was a major shock when I found out that he passed. He died of a heart attack. It was not something that anyone ever thought was going to happen. So it was difficult. Difficult to say the least. And so my brother was depressed and upset. I mean, he just lost 2 of his best friends in such a short period of time. So, you know, I was trying to deal with Randy's passing in my own way, and my brother's never really been one to want to talk about things. He just kind of bottles it all up. I'm going to go back in with the double scoop and just add a little bit more of that on this eye. So, you know, Cam was dealing with it in his own way, which hindsight is telling me that it wasn't the best way. I'm going to go back in with Hot Fudge again and just add a little bit more here to the outer corner. My aching back. So anyway, after Randy's passing, so after Eugene's passing, it got really bad. My brother was not really working that often. He just always wanted to be alone and didn't want to really be around anyone. Now I'm going to use this concealer brush from Luxie Brushes. And I'm going to go in with this orange color, which is called Orange Crush. And we're going to just put that on eye. You know, he was dealing with however he wanted to deal with the passing of his 2 best friends. And they happened to be the friends that were his best friends for a really long time. I mean, he had other friends, but they weren't best friends. Like Eugene and Ed. I should be using this one so you guys can see. And so at one point, things had gotten really bad, and he and I, my brother Cam and I, had gotten into a fight, and the police got called. Again, I'm not going to go into detail on that, and you'll find out why here in a minute. Things had gotten really bad, and that was on Easter Sunday. My brother and I did not speak for 2 weeks. We lived in the same household, did not speak to one another for 2 weeks. I'm going to go back in with that fluffier brush and try to add more of that Orange Crush. It just wasn't, I didn't like the way this was applying. So 2 weeks later, the Saturday before, so May 3rd, my brother had texted me and asked if I wanted to talk. So I came downstairs to talk. Now I'm going to go in with Slice, and I'm just going to use my finger, and I'm going to put that here in the inner portion. So I came downstairs and we talked. I let him know at that time that Alex and I were moving per his daughter's request. He got a little upset, but I knew that I couldn't stay. I knew I couldn't continue living there and putting my mental health in jeopardy. We watched a couple YouTube videos together, and he said that he wanted time to himself and that he loved me and he just needed some time. So I went back upstairs, and this was Saturday the 3rd of May, and my son and I ended up going to the movies that day and just trying to stay out of his hair as much as we possibly could. Now we're gonna set our face with the watermelon burst from Ciate London. And so, we were just giving him his time. He came back and he was asleep on the couch, which wasn't abnormal. He normally slept on the couch. Since his stroke, he didn't really sleep in his bed all that often, which he had his reasons. So I heard him walking around because my bedroom was on the 2nd floor, and the living room, the 2 bedrooms, the bathroom, the kitchen, my office were all on the main floor. And then there was the basement with like the laundry room, his man cave, and an extra storage room were in the basement, a cement basement. So I could hear him downstairs because we always kept the basement door shut because of the cats. There was like rat poison down there, and we didn't want the cats down there. So we always kept that basement door shut. So I would hear the door open and shut because he's never been a person to be quiet in opening and shutting doors. And that's been his whole life. It's not like it's something that had just started recently. He's never been a quiet person, quiet in the amount of noise. He's quiet in his speaking, but in the noise that he would make walking around or whatever is always been on the louder side. So I would hear him going, in and out of the basement or in and out of the bathroom, or because again, we left the bathroom door shut because of Callie. His dog didn't want her getting into the garbage or drinking out of the toilet. Now we're going to do the Urban Decay eyeliner. So, I was hearing him a lot. And at that time, I wasn't sleeping all that well. So at about like 5 o'clock in the morning or something like that, I heard him. I don't know if he was going in or coming out of the basement because I heard the door open and shut. So he could have been going down into the basement. He could have been coming out of the basement. I don't know. And now the Laura Geller mascara. And didn't really pay much attention because, it was a Saturday night and he would sometimes be downstairs doing stuff. Plus, I knew he was going to be looking for a new place to live as well. And the way our internet works is if somebody connects to the internet, because I was listed as a account manager on his internet account, it would alert me if a new device connected to the internet. And his computer downstairs connected to the internet at about 10 o'clock Saturday night. So I figured he was down there because it's easier for him to see because he had a little itty bitty iPhone. So I figured it was easier for him to see things if he used his computer. And I didn't really notice seeing him at all on Sunday, but I swear I thought I heard him moving around in the house on Sunday. But again, I wasn't really downstairs. I was giving him his space, just letting him do whatever he needed to do. And 12:30 on Sunday, his ex-wife showed up, pounding on the door, asking me if he was home. Well, his car was in the driveway, so I pointed to the car in the driveway and I said, obviously, unless he went with Charles, who was another friend of his. But Callie would have barked, so I would have known Charles had showed up and if he had left with Charles. So didn't really think anything of it. She went downstairs I told her if he's here, he's probably in the man cave and he probably fell asleep because he did that sometimes. He would fall asleep down in the man cave. And next thing I know, his ex-wife's niece showed up with her son and broke down the basement door because he had locked himself in the man cave. Hold on. Okay, so they broke down the door to the basement and he had shot himself. And the niece and her son had found him. The scream that came out of that niece's mouth, and that's not my niece, it's his ex-wife's niece. The scream that came out of her mouth was not something I'm ever gonna forget. The next thing she said is also something I'm never gonna forget. She screamed that fat bitch and her son need to get out of my uncle's house. I am currently being blamed for my brother's passing. I didn't hear anything. I never heard a gunshot. I never heard anything. I did hear him walking around, or at least I thought I heard him walking around. Like I said, I thought I heard him walking around. I might not have. I don't know. I was half awake. I hadn't been sleeping well for weeks since probably before Easter. My son and I lived in that house for a week, 6 days to be exact, before we moved into this house. I haven't been to work in 2 weeks. I go back. My first official day is tomorrow, but I'm gonna go in today for a few hours just because going in today might get me back into a routine, so I'll be better to know how I'm gonna do tomorrow working a full shift. I've been on short-term disability since the week before it happened, and then I extended it last week because I just couldn't. So I've technically been on short-term disability for 2.5 weeks. It started the Tuesday before he took his life, and then when he took his life, it was extended for 2 weeks. So last week was our first week in our new house, and we spent the time just unpacking and going through things, and I've been trying to heal. I should have probably done this without makeup on, but at least it looks like my mascara is not running, so that's good. So last week was spent just trying to unpack and get things organized. We still have stuff in a storage unit that we need to get out, so we'll be doing that on the weekends because we'll just be putting it in my son's car, and he's got a little Ford Focus, so we'll slowly be bringing things over. We have the storage unit paid up until the end of the month, so we have this weekend and then I guess just one day next week. Since my son works Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, I'm going to see if he wouldn't mind going over there on Wednesday to bring a load. And then I work normally Tuesday through Saturday. So really our only day to go together would be either after I get out of work on Saturday or Sundays. Sundays are really hard for me because that's when all of this happened. I'm trying really hard not to think about it, but I know that I need to deal with it. And I'm in very intense therapy. I see a therapist and a psychiatrist to try to wrap my mind around everything and understand that it's not my fault, but I still feel responsibility because I should have known. And I know everyone says, how could you have known? But he was my brother. I should have known. Anyway, that's where I've been. And now we are caught up to today. I'm going to try to start doing more videos. This video is going to be very long, so it's going to take me a minute to edit the video. But as soon as I'm done filming, I am going to go and clock in for work to just try to get some normalcy going or something. So I just want you all to know, be kind to one another, check on people, and know that you are loved, you are appreciated, and you are important. Bye, guys.